So now we're going to move on to our first keynote for the day, and we are going to hear the amazing story of Rani Hong. She's one of the world's leading voices in the fight against modern-day slavery. Rani is the co-founder of the Ronnie Foundation, a non-profit global organisation focused on driving awareness of human trafficking and slavery, and president of Rani's Voice, a social enterprise company that aims to provide economic empowerment to those without a voice and help improve the lives of those in need. Rani's Voice recently joined with Thomson Reuters in a public-private coalition announced in January 2018 at the World Economic Forum in Davos. The aim is to step up the fight against financial crime and modern slavery. Its objective is to mobilise and influence decision makers at the highest levels, promote more effective information sharing, and establish enhanced processes to share best practice. The inclusion of Rani's Voice in the coalition gives a voice to millions of enslaved people throughout the world, drawing attention to their suffering and highlighting the importance of finding new ways to secure their freedom. Rani dedicates her time and effort to lead towards greater global understanding about human trafficking, and continues to speak for those without a voice who are imprisoned, enslaved, and silenced. And she brings their stories to all of us. So what you will hear now is the story of a survivor of child trafficking. So Rani, I welcome you to the stage.
Good afternoon. It is a privilege to be here, to be among all of you who took time to be here out of your busy schedule. So I thank you for that, and thank you to the host, Kimberly, and everyone else who's a part of the leadership. Amazing time, and I look forward to the rest of the event today. So we've heard from previous speakers that modern-day slavery, it is a real thing. It is huge. It is a money-making machine, some have said, but more or less, this trade needs to stop. So we ask, how is it possible for us to go forward today to work towards the solutions in fighting and prevention of human trafficking? We've heard the numbers, and later on today, you will hear more numbers. And sometimes the numbers can be very big and alarming. Today, I'm here to show I'm one of those numbers. We know it's a $150 billion industry annually. Again, companies and people making profit. So the cost of human rights is a cost to human dignity. As you can tell from the video, that many of the products that we use today are touched by slaves. Today is a day for us to hear one of the stories, one life that has been affected by this trade. You see, I was born in southern part of India in Kerala state. I was with my mother, who loved me, my father, who wanted the best for my life. And I remember the joys and the times of being at home with my brothers and sisters. But as life got a little bit harder, my father got ill, and a respected woman in the community came and said to my family, "How can I help you? Can I take one of your children just to allow them to come with me to stay for a few days, just to help you with food?" So as a parent, both my mom and dad agreed to let me go down the street to stay with this woman. And see, this woman appeared to the community as the answer to everything. A well-respected woman, a very educated woman, and everybody in the community looked up to her. And when she spoke and when she made a recommendation, you listen. So for the best part of what my parents wanted from me, they allowed me to go down the street to stay with her temporarily. And I remember when my mom would come and visit me day in, day out, because I missed her. But I knew I could go home at any point, and I did go back and forth. But one day, my mother came to get me, to bring me back home to celebrate a birthday. She came to the place that I was staying at and asked, "Where's my daughter?" And quickly things changed. They said, "Oh, we will bring her back tomorrow." What we didn't know, this woman was looking simply for vulnerability in the community to exploit. And then once she got me in the place, what she was doing, she was selling children across the state border. So I was sold into slavery at the age of 7. I was taken away from everything I knew, playing with my family, being with them. I love my community, I love my village. And there, all of a sudden, I had to leave my environment that I knew. And then as I was sold into slavery, I was taken across to another border. See, traffickers know how to work the system. They knew if they could take me as a 7-year-old child across another place, that nobody could find me. And then I was very disoriented. I was afraid and alone. You see, that's the trap that the traffickers want us to be in. They don't see us as human beings. They surely didn't see me as a 7-year-old child crying for my mother. And every time I cried, they would tell me to be quiet, that she will never come for me. Soon, my life turned upside down. I didn't know what was happening to me, but what was happening was something called seasoning for submission. And in that process, the goal of the trafficker is to get the will of the child to listen and to obey. So I was forced against my will. My trafficker was using myself, my children, other children, to work in a brick factory, working many hours. All they could see was the dollar sign. All they can see is how could we exploit an innocent child. So my life turned upside down. I ended up by looking like this at the age of 8. After being held in a cage, they literally took my life away. They wanted me to be confined, and I wasn't able to move very much. So I had very difficulties. But one thing they did want to do was get one more profit. So they sold me for international adoption into Canada, into the Seattle, Washington, United States, where I currently live. So we ask, how could this happen? And so my adopted mother was wonderful, wonderful woman. My life changed again to the good. I found a woman who loved me. See, all I was doing is asking for somebody to love me, to take care of me, and to give me food. I don't think that's too much to ask. But yet those who are in the criminal network are making money the financial crime within those businesses are huge. So I live in the United States. Life was good, very much challenging. Didn't know how to read and write very well, didn't get the education that I needed. But I knew someday that we had to do something. So shortly, 21 years later, I travel back to India on vacation, and I find my birth mother in a tourist hotel. I was completely surprised, because the traffickers had told me she was dead. So then all of a sudden, through many circumstances, as you can imagine, things turned. But there was my biological mom, and I asked her the questions that I always wanted to ask her. And from there, I heard and learned what child trafficking was. So that was the good side, because we need to find hope, right? For the NGOs that are in this every day, we got to hold on to the hope, and we got to look for the times that we can propel this issue. We got to look for the hope to keep us going, right? We've all had challenges, but how do we overcome that? And in my life, I met my husband, Rani Hong. He too was a victim of child trafficking, recruited to be a child soldier from Vietnam. So in 2006, Oprah Winfrey asked us to come on her show and tell the story. And that was our first time ever telling our story on a national stage. And there, I told her the horrifics of what human trafficking is. And there together, we were able to launch our foundation. The Ronnie Foundation is a nonprofit, as you heard, and we now work globally around the world to be the voice for those who cannot speak. Because when I found out what my story, I knew I had to be an advocate. And from there, and today, I speak for those without a voice. So today, I'm a survivor, a wife, a mother, human rights activist, and all the other lists that you can see. But more importantly, I'm just like you. I'm a parent, and I would do everything I could if my child went missing, and I know you would too. So as we go throughout the day, please remember the pain and the isolation the victims must go through. And just recently, we were able to document my husband's story. Long story short there, you can go on my website and watch the Oprah Winfrey Show, a little video she had put together of both of our life stories. But there, just recently this year, I was also able to document his trip, how he got shipwrecked, ended up in the South China Sea area and a remote island. And thanks to my friend here, Linda Brown, she supported this efforts to go see how does human trafficking really happen. So I took a documentary crew to follow both my husband and I, and to see, and there my eyes were opened up. Today, in 21st century, 2018, this crime is thriving. And I was able to see with my own eyes how victims were being exploited in the most remote islands of this area. I also knew I needed to do something bigger. And so I joined up with the United Nations, and in 2011 I got appointed as the UN Special Advisor to the Global Initiative to Fight Human Trafficking. Up to that point, they had never really had a trafficking victim come and tell the story at the General Assembly, and they weren't sure what to do, but they knew the voice had to be heard. And there they gave me a platform, and in 2013, I went before the UN General Assembly to ask for several things, but one was to create a day that the world would stop and listen to the victims. So just celebrated our July 30th World Day Against Trafficking Persons, our 5th anniversary, and that's where I was able to also invite Thomson Reuters to join me as we spoke to member states and to bring about global change. I also asked for a Freedom Seal. I created a Freedom Seal, which you'll hear a little bit more, but I knew there needed to be solutions to this problem. And before I went before the 193 countries, I've done several speeches, and from there I asked countries, I asked governments to come and join our effort. But I knew it wasn't governments alone could not solve the problem. Survivors alone cannot solve the problem. What it takes is all of us, right? All of us coming together, coming to the realization this is a worldwide effort. No country is exempt from this business. Everybody needs to join. And this is the opportunity that we're going to give you today as we continue on the panels and the different discussions. So my goal today is for us to come up with solutions. How do we fight this financial crime? It's huge. It's horrific. So I went before the UN again, asked them for goal number 8 of the Sustainable Development Goals. There are 17 of them. I asked for goal number 8. And goal 8.7 of the Sustainable Development Goals are specifically focusing on the issue of modern-day slavery and forced labor. So I was happy in 2015 to be part of that whole celebration with the member states. But today, the goal is not over, right? We have goals continuously. And I have a vision that someday, the life for kids, that children can dream again. The things that are taken away from a 7-year-old child when it never should have happened. But this is why you guys are here today, because you can bring that change. You have the opportunity throughout today and tomorrow to take action. And that's what I'm excited about this event, because we're about action. We know the problem, but let's not stay at the problem. Let's come up with these solutions. So what I know today is that we, all of us put together, is greater than me. It's no one person, again, can solve this. So what do we do? And we have going with the United Nations to end modern-day slavery by 2030. And that means we start, and we have started in the past, but we continue. So for me, one specific thing is I knew there needed to be a symbol in the world to illustrate the freedom that I have. I was enslaved, held like a prisoner, a 7-year-old girl. But today, I'm grateful for my life because I'm free. But I want to set the rest of the children, other children, so they can see freedom. So I created the Freedom Seal, which is a label that I want the world to see. And in this, it's an actual tool that we are actually giving opportunities for companies, financial institutions, banks, corporations, and governments to get and to help get this out in the world. And it's a tool that basically is rewarding companies who are doing good. Companies that say to us and follow our standards, our global standards, and follow, we have assessment criteria that they must meet. And if you meet those criteria, we then reward those companies for the good action. So it's like in the United States, we have an organic label, but this is kind of similar to a slave-free label. But this also will include the technologies. And that's where Thomson Reuters comes in as they're providing the solutions. The World Check and Know Your Customer Solutions are incredible tools that are before you today with this organization, with this company. So this is a product label that will be, the goal is to be seen and to be given. We have a lot of governments, just proud to say the government of Scotland has just joined and looking at their own procurement. So the vision of this Freedom Seal is to be able to really let consumers choose who do they want to do business with and who do they want to support. We also, within this system, we use digital authentications and decentralized verification to help companies avoid forced labor in supply chains. Again, many partners, but today I ask you, how can you help to move this forward, move this agenda forward? And at the end of the day, it's a global tool that we're providing, but it's not just us, it's again, working with partners and making it effective. And so today, there's a lot of academic, incredible to hear more of the research that's coming, academics who are excellent in the work you guys do, continue those research documents, research as NGOs, continue on the front line, because it's not easy. And I encourage you, as this gets more, to realize that this is not easy. None of us would say this is an easy task, and we know there's no such thing as small change. So as we go, let's come up with specific solutions. So when we end this today, we know what we're taking away as we go forward to be equipped to fight this battle and to have the tools and the resources that we need. So today I ask you to join us as we join the Adopt the Seal campaign, a consumer campaign. Others are doing other campaigns as well. But let's join together and see how the difference and the global difference we can make. So yes, you can follow me on Twitter. There's posting, follow me at Ronnie's Voice. My foundation, the Trani Foundation, has a lot of stories there as well, as I've worked with victims around the world. So today I leave you with the thought to look to the future, to the vision that we want to go to. Let us not end thinking this is a hopeless cause. Let's not get when we do get discouraged, let us know there are new solutions coming, and you might be the one that can bring freedom to millions of children like the little girl I was, imprisoned, silenced, and unable to speak. Today, please help carry my voice and thousands and millions of others. Thank you very much.